Welcome back, America. We're here with Vivek Ramaswamy. Good man. We've never really done this before, have we?
That's our first time, I think.
First time. Here's my question to you. All the talk about the Democrats and the media substituting Joe Biden for somebody else, you know, the same media that was celebrating him is now demanding that the Democrats put up somebody else. I'm thinking we went through an entire primary process. Tens of millions of people voted in that primary, in the Democrat primaries. Some cases, independents and Republicans. The point is, they voted. 99% of the delegates are Biden delegates. So the media, the New York Times, Politico, Axios, CNN, they're all pushing now for another candidate. So you're going to literally disenfranchise tens of millions of people to swap out Biden and allow the Washington hacks, basically, to appoint the Democrat Party nominee? Is that what they're saying?
The Democrat Party that stands for our democracy. You're right about that, Mark. But the reality is this was not some sort of careful reaction after the fact. This was a carefully hatched plot beforehand, if you think about it. They demanded that this debate occur in June, the earliest ever presidential TV debate in history, the first ever in history before the nominating convention of either political party. So for me, it was obvious exactly what they were doing. I said this over the course of the presidential race last year, that I doubted we were going to be running against Biden. But the problem with now them putting this bait and switch now is that it instills a sense of dishonesty with the public. You have a government and a media complex that has lied systematically to the public, from the Hunter Biden laptop story on the eve of the last election to the origin of COVID-19, now lying about their intentions of who their nominee was actually going to be and how healthy he actually was. And so even when they do make that switch, as I believe is now likely, I think it will erode public trust even worse than it already has been, which, not just speaking as a Republican, but speaking as an American, is actually dangerous for this country, and shame on them for doing it, but that's exactly what's coming.
Let's play this out a little bit. So let's say they do this. Biden announces that he's not going to run. The delegates are free to choose whomever they wish. But the party doesn't want Kamala Harris because her numbers are in the tank, and she's an awful candidate. She speaks worse than Biden does on a good day. Then what? They're going to have some kind of a battle within the party over race, over whether it's a female. What happens then?
Well, look, I do think that they have a Kamala Harris problem, which is that they put someone in that role, let's be very honest, because of her race and gender. She had no other qualification for that job, no other capability to bring to the role of vice president. She's in charge of AI policy. She can't even spell AI. Let's be honest about that. But that means they have to pick somebody else who solves those same identity politics problems, and also somebody who rises above the fray that stops them from having in-party fighting amongst ambitious people who are vying for that same role. I think that leaves one person ahead of the pack, ahead of the rest, and that's Michelle Obama. So we'll see what happens, but I've made this prediction long ago, and you play this forward, these people are going to say they're going to stop at nothing to keep Donald Trump out of office. I believe there is a good chance they will take the best shot that they can. Here's how we protect ourselves against that, Mark. First of all, President Trump has already done it. He's demonstrated, I think, convincingly to the American people at that debate, the fact that this lawfare was completely just that, a politicized prosecution. Even centrist friends, CEOs, many people who even 6 months ago would have been skeptical of those kinds of arguments now see it the way that we do, is that this is just political lawfare. So I think that those people are in Trump's camp and here to say, regardless of who the Democrats put up. But the other way we do it, and this is where I believe we have not yet been good enough as a Republican Party, we have to articulate who we are and what we actually stand for, irrespective of the poison that the left gives us. We can't rail against the radical Biden agenda anymore because Biden's not even going to be the nominee. It's a Democratic machine that we're up against. And I think we're in something of a holy mission here in this cycle to go in and actually shut down that deep state, actually dismantle that managerial class once and for all. This is a generational opportunity. I think this is a once-in-a-century opportunity that we've been given as Americans, and as our founding fathers did in 1776. I think this is our moment to step up and say, we are restoring our constitutional republic. We have a God-given opportunity. It's up to us to actually seize it. And if we squander it this November, I worry that we may not have a country left for our kids to grow up in, certainly not the same country. And so this is really our chance to get that right.
It appears the Supreme Court has given us a very powerful tool. They've gone pre-1984, pre-Chevron decision, meaning, in other words, they just ruled that the bureaucracy doesn't have the power to issue regulations, to enforce regulations and adjudicate regulations all at once. So now companies, small businesses, individuals can actually bring lawsuits, and judicial review belongs with the judiciary. That's what they just ruled. That is a monumental decision. So the average person or small businesses can now actually challenge these regulations with an opportunity of really getting a fair hearing. What do you make of that?
I think these are outstanding outcomes. These are some of the most important Supreme Court cases of our lifetime. Started 2 years ago with West Virginia versus EPA that said these regulators can't write rules that have a big impact if Congress never passed them into law. That was in 2022. Now this cycle, you actually got two decisions just coming out in recent days. One which said that the SEC and other agencies can't house judges, prosecutors, and rule writers under the same agency. That was a big win. And then you saw the overturning of the Chevron doctrine itself, which says that courts no longer have to defer to agencies in the interpretation of the law. Together, these are the most monumental pro-constitutional decisions we have seen. And so for the next president who wants to go in there and actually dismantle that regulatory state, we now have the legal toolkit to do it. And I believe that man is going to be Donald Trump if we succeed this November.
When we come back, my question to you is this. What do we do about the media? I'm not talking about the government, but they are private corporations. I mean, they have boards of directors, they have executives, they have CEOs, they have people who are supposed to be responsible to investors. They're destroying the country. Look at what they just did with Joe Biden. What do we do about this?
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.